It is now my great pleasure to introduce Shawn MacDonald, who is backed by popular demand and our only three-peat. Shawn is a seasoned member of the SAIA and a welcomed contributor for his positive brand of suggestion and implementation. Shawn has been in the field of suspended and supported scaffolding for about 43 years. He worked for Sky Climber, Spider, Safety Green, now Sunbelt, and the last 27 years he's spent at Superior Scaffolding in Philadelphia as a suspended scaffolding specialist and now their safety director. It's a whole lot of S's. He is one of the SAIA's accredited instructors teaching the suspended and supported scaffold courses, and in his spare time, he is the current chair of the ATI committee. It is with a great pleasure I welcome Shawn to the stage to present even more technology. Thank you.
Technology. Paula in the last meeting said that this was about riveting. I didn't know that I don't even have anything about riveting in here, so we're going to have to deal with that. Give me a second. This is a new presenter to me. Let's see, when did we do this? 2017, Montreal. We did the first technology every scaffold company should know about. We recapped it in Chicago, and now here we are again. I'm not going to repeat the same stuff, but if you don't know who I am, in 1979, a friend of mine gave me a call, and he said, "Hey, you want a job?" And I said, "What do I got to do?" And he tried to explain it. Suspended scaffolding, I didn't get it. He said it was Sky Climber, which didn't help at all. I couldn't visualize what he was talking about, but the next day, I was in Atlantic City on the Claridge Hotel that they were converting to the second casino in Atlantic City on an 8-foot suspended scaffold, dropping through holes in every one of the 24 stories with rebar sticking out on them, no front rail, 3/4-inch manila safety rope and a waist belt. And that was the beginning of a 44-year suspended scaffold career. Technology, the sum total of our technology was a beeper. Didn't have any numbers, it just beeped. If the office needed you, it beeped. If your girlfriend needed you, it beeped twice back to back. And if you needed to call her back, you went and found one of these. And you called collect. Now the office had an 800 number. Oh, kids, an 800 number. You went to one of these payphones, okay, and you dialed the 800 number, and it was toll-free. The company you were calling paid for the call. That's why there are 800 numbers, if you were ever wondering, because I know you have no idea. Our technology, we didn't know what a ratchet strap was. Those 36-foot platforms are tied down with 3/4-inch manila rope, because we had lots of it. It was safety line. The counterweights are made out of concrete. 24 of them fit perfectly under the bed rails in an 8-foot pickup truck, and that's all we ever delivered was 24 weights. It was always 24 weights. Nobody ever went beyond 2-foot overhang. In '88, I moved to Orlando, went to work for Safety Green Scaffold. Still no photos of me because, well, I didn't own a camera at the time. You had to own a camera in order to take pictures. At least my pager had a digital display. Now, the concept here is you're on a phone, you need somebody to call a number. You have to dial the number in to tell them what number to call. All right, everybody's going to show their age. Who remembers the codes? 6,000 star 843 was goodbye if you turned the pager upside down, and there were all kinds of notes. If you got a 911 with your home number on it, it was time for an emergency. So that was the sum total of our technology. I got a pretty good coffee cup, but what I got out of that one, the most memorable experience was they needed a high spot for a camera to film this scene in Lethal Weapon 3.
Just want to click this on you because you're wandering.
I'm wondering.
You want to just put this other part into your pocket?
Sure. Technology. So now that I'm on a lapel, so now that I'm on a lapel, you're going to find out there's an insulin pump in my pocket that's really mad at me because I ate the fudge brownie that was in the lunch. So when you hear these beeps going off, it's technology. They didn't have any drones in 1992 when they filmed this thing, so they put a swing stage up on the side of the building. We felt the heat on our face when that thing went off. That was actually the demolition of Orlando City Hall. I got a cell phone, 1990. It was a flip phone, not from the company. Companies didn't do that yet, okay? I did get a pager from them, of course. In 91, I went over to work for Spider, as Paula mentioned. I got a pager, and they reimbursed me for the cell phone bill. That was pretty awesome. And a really good coffee cup. And that picture was taken, well, I don't know, 2 weeks ago when I was putting this slideshow together. That's still my favorite coffee cup. 1992, I left Orlando and moved back to Philadelphia. And still, no, wait, no, there was technology. I got this thing. You can do a material list for a frame job just simply by moving the slide rule around. It was a phenomenal piece of technology. The problem was I was a swing stage specialist. I did get a coffee cup. That's the old company logo. It's got a really cool rubber base on it, but you know, the greatest thing since sliced bread was introduced then. Nextel. But not the i1000. No, the 6-pound challenge, the Lingo. All right? That thing was so heavy the carpenters wouldn't touch it. The scaffold erectors wouldn't touch it. They gave them to all the swing guys. It's the only reason we got them, was because the carpenters wouldn't have. When the smaller version came out, they gave them the smaller ones, and they said, well, if they're smaller ones, let's get them for the swing guys. And so for the next, I don't know what, 8 years was the greatest time for productivity with the Nextel radios. Let's fast forward to today and see what's out there. How to make a QR code. QR code popularity seems to come and go, but they're everywhere. If you look on some of the windows when you get off the elevator, there's QR codes. I'm not really sure what they're saying. I attempted to do it, but it took me to an odd place. But if you point your phone at that, you can read the QR code. But this will tell you how to make a QR code. And all QR code is a computer-generated box that takes somebody to a web page. But if you don't know how to read that to go find out how to make it, that's a problem. So if you turn your phone camera on, and point it up at a QR code, you'll see a little link. Click on that link and it'll take you to that web page. And if I have to explain that to you, then you're the actual subject of this presentation. How many people in here do PowerPoint presentations? All right. How many people in here are an instructor of some sort? So you know when I say, when you go out to do a remote training session, you take an extra projector bulb, you take every adapter under the sun, and you take, if there's 10 students, you take 11 printed PDF copies of your PowerPoint presentation in case stuff goes wrong. And stuff's going to go wrong in just a minute because I brought my laptop from Pennsylvania and traveled into Canada, and Microsoft's security thinks it's been hacked, and so there's some things in this presentation that do not function. Don't worry, I've put in some stills so that I can explain them to you. But yeah, you never know what's going to happen. All right. So the first thing I want to tell you about, and I learned this way back when I went through the train-the-trainer, is the Logitech green laser presenter. All right. I'm using a version of that presenter in my hand here. I can go forward. I can go backwards. And did you guys take my screen blanking button? You don't have one on this. It's the most frightening button of all. If I'm trying to get the student's attention, I'll hit the blanking button. The screens will go blank. And so now your only focus is on me. I can get my point across. The reason that they took away the button is because occasionally up here a newbie's going to hit the button, and then they're going to go into a complete panic because their presentation disappeared. But the Logitech presenter Mine is so well used, there's no writing left on it at all. It's completely shiny from me just rubbing my hands on it. How many of you have used the laser pointer on the TV screen and found out it doesn't work? That's right. You need a stick with a rubber finger on the end of it if you're presenting and your screen is a television. Why a green laser? Somebody has to know. Red lasers can't be seen in broad daylight. So if you're teaching outside, your ability to point things out goes away. Green laser works just fine. Here's our Microsoft problem. I was going to click on this wonderful link down here, and it was going to take us to Office 365. And you know from the last two presentations, I'm a huge fan of Office 365. If we don't have a screen, if the screen dies, if the projector dies, and your presentation is on Office 365, you can go there and click the link for the slideshow, and then you'll see a thing that comes up that says Present Live. You hit the Present Live button, and this screen comes up. Now you've got a minute to talk to your audience about mundane stuff because it's going through and it's putting together the presentation, and then this will show up. When this QR shows up, everybody in the room takes their phone, points it at the QR code, and your slide presentation appears on their phone. All right? And as you speak, your computer's microphone is picking up your voice and putting it up in subtitles on the bottom of their screen while you're talking, and there's a button in the bottom right corner where they change it to the language that they speak. If I put a link up on the screen, subtitles. If I put a link up on the screen, and we're in this room right now, there's a link on the screen. How do you get to that link? Well, you don't. I mean, obviously it's SAI, but if it was a real cool piece of technology, you're going to grab a quick picture of it and go back later and type it. But if you're watching the presentation on your phone, touch the link, it brings it up. You can bookmark it and go right back to the presentation. By the way, the presentation, if we're using a screen, is still up on the screen. And then, of course, Taylor Swift was going to tell us how great it was, but, you know, unfortunately, Microsoft and their security issues didn't allow us to do it live. Anybody participated in a PowerPoint presentation that had live audience response? So 10 years ago, Turning Technologies came up with this unbelievable idea. It's a dongle you plug into your computer. Everybody in the audience gets one of these little number pads. It's got yes, no, and a bunch of numbers on it. And if I ask a question to the audience, how many people saw either of the last two presentations, everybody would grab their little keypad, push it, and we would get live response right on the screen. So if I'm a trainer, I can actually record answers as we go along. Everything in the live presentation is recorded behind the scenes, and it saves it to a file. It makes turning training into, you know, an interactive thing where a PowerPoint presentation becomes much more fun. And the thing about it is this was like, I don't know, like $8,000 for 10 keypads, and then you paid, you know, probably $100 and something a keypad. It's outdated technology. This service is now available as an app. So everybody just does it on their phone, but you pay a subscription per person. The actual Turning Technology stuff is on eBay now. I bought 50 of the pads for $300. So if you're an instructor and you have a use for training where you need to keep records, unbelievable piece of equipment. Internet of Things. Everybody heard this term? How many people know what it means? Yeah, it's the Wi-Fi that's going on all of the time. Devices are taking advantage of it. In June of this year, the tinfoil hat people would have you think that the Terminator is coming because the mesh network went live on June 8th, 2023. What's the mesh network? Well, who's got a Ring doorbell? Alexa, Kivo, or some other locking door you can lock with your phone? Blink camera, and a Nest thermostat, refrigerators, furnaces, everything you can think of, appliances that talk via, you program them to talk to your Wi-Fi. And if you turned off your Wi-Fi, that was the end of it. They all stopped talking. But on June 8th, they all started talking to each other. Your Nest doorbell camera talks to your neighbor's Nest doorbell camera. And if you turn off your Wi-Fi, it's still working. It's still sending information through the mesh network. And this is what was scaring the people. So it's, it's all tied together. There's lots of good stuff, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And, I'm having a little fun here. So it's only a matter of time before AI can watch you, lock you in, and gas you. Or just shut you down in a blizzard, Harold. Or self-drive you right into a wall. All right, all kidding aside. It lets you know where your trucks are, who's on the clock and where they are. And if you've ever worked with BIM or Procore or any of those, your employees are already involved in it. They're going to a job site. They're running an app on their phone where they punch in and they punch out for that general contractor. All of that data is being gathered together. So the Internet of Things is in all of our lives. I was kicking an idea around a little bit ago. Now, the following idea is copyrighted. I need a retirement plan. There's lots of Scaffold companies in the room. But think about this for a second. A load cell is a squishometer. Okay, so a 5,000-pound load cell placed on a screw jack would tell us what the leg load was. We could make a base that went under the screw jack. We could create a coupling pin that had a load cell built into it where we could get the individual leg loads of each level. We could use tension compression load cells in the ties to give us the condition of the ties. Throw in an anemometer at the top for wind speed, tie it into an app, and we could actually get alerts on our cell phones telling us that the customer was near or actually overloading a scaffold. It's just something to think about. It's not that difficult. Those items that I showed you are only a couple of $100 a piece tied together in a system. They could be really powerful. We already have the technology in our construction elevators and our transport platforms. They're already hooked up via SIM card and sending us information. I was just talking with one of the manufacturers, and I said, do me a favor, put in an off switch so when they don't pay their bills, it flashes a thing that says code 666, call for service. When they give you code 666, you transfer it to the salesman. He goes, well, yeah, we're going to send a technician out, but by the way, you haven't paid your invoice. AI. Everybody heard all the ruckus this year about AI taking over the world? As a tech geek, it actually worries me a little bit, but I'm not that worried, but they absolutely need to keep these things isolated. So I was sitting there putting this presentation together, and I said, I got to talk about AI. So I logged into ChatGPT, which is the most famous one. Now, one thing about ChatGPT, her knowledge, that's right, all AIs are she's, just so you know. And I logged in, and I said, can you write a PowerPoint presentation for Scaffold for me? And she did. So I'm thinking, well, why don't I have her write this presentation? So she laid out the skeleton for me. She gave me the titles and all of the stuff, and I went, hey, that's pretty neat. Now, I didn't use that one, but then I got to thinking, and I said, can you tell me the counterweight formula for suspended scaffold? And she did, and she told me about the safety factor, and she told me about, all of the things necessary to do it, and I was really, really impressed. And so I said, are you a qualified person or a competent person? And I got an answer that said, I'm neither competent nor qualified. I do my best and so on and so forth. And I thought, did you just answer that question out of fear of liability? And she said this. Oh, there's supposed to be audio back there, gentlemen.
Best of my knowledge and ability.
Hang on, we'll go and do it again.
No, my previous responses were not based on fear of liability. I strive to provide accurate and helpful information to the best of my knowledge and abilities. Scaffold erection is a critical safety issue in construction and maintenance, and I aim to provide accurate and responsible information on the topic. However, it's important to clarify that while I can offer general information and guidance on scaffold erection and related topics, I am not a substitute for professional advice, certification, or training. Safety and compliance with regulations are paramount in construction, and individuals involved in scaffold erection should always rely on qualified professionals, industry standards, and local regulations for specific guidance and decision-making.
How many times have you seen that on the back of a contract? Certifications. Everybody wants to see a card now. It used to be, Joe Smith is our competent person. Here's a letter that says it. Thank you. Proceed. Now it's Joe Smith is our competent person. Can we see his certification? Well, you can see his training. Can we see his fall protection training? Well, the course kind of, oh no, we're going to need a certificate. It's absolute insanity, and it starts building up. And so what do you got? First, you've got a file folder that had his name on it and it had his original payroll records, and now it's starting to get all this stuff. So then you go to a spreadsheet and you go to this, that, and the other thing. There are lots of services now. Now, the companies that are coming up here are the first guys that contacted me in these industries, and so that's how I know of them. But there are lots to choose from, and they will take every card, every ID, all of them, put them together by employee, and not only will they be available for whatever you need them for at the push of a button, but they will notify you when any of them are coming up for expiration or in need of recertification and things like that. So there are tools out there that make things easier for us. All right, let's have a little fun. There are lots of heirs and heiresses in this business, and I'm talking about the children of the founders of the scaffold companies, or the grandchildren of the founders of the scaffold companies who spent their summers, they spent their summers spinning jacks. They called it character building back then. We know it as child labor violations now. But yeah, they spent their summers with a bucket of diesel fuel and a hammer, making sure that the one on the left looked like the one on the right when they were done. Yeah. In 1980, that same kid talked dad into a pressure washer. There's no PPE involved. It's a pair of sweatpants or something to keep the rocks from hurting. Fast forward to today, and Junior's got full suit, rubber boots, rubber gloves, face mask, Bluetooth headphones. Seriously, we didn't have Bluetooth headphones. You know, that makes it all worth it because you can listen to your favorite podcast or something. But seriously, even though it's water, doing it at 100-degree temperature just stinks. So, you know, hey, when I was your age, I didn't have a pressure washer. I had a bucket of diesel and a hammer. Speaking of Bluetooth headphones, just a side note, I mentioned headphones and I'm going to mention them again later. The 3M noise canceling, they're now in the $50 range. There's no reason not to protect your hearing when you're making loud noises with steel and hammers. The kids were looking for a better way. They knew they were spending their whole summer in the hot sun doing mundane tasks, so they always looked for a better way. Dad, can I use the torch? No, you can't use the torch. So when Dad's not looking, they're going to come up with some way to do this. So, you know, I need a heat source, or I'll just go out behind the shed, warm it up a little bit. The skill level of these kids was unbelievable. I mean, this thing's folded 180 degrees, but you get right in there with a hammer and he straightens it right out. All right. Some of this stuff must remain anonymous. We can't talk about this because a lot of it will maim you, kill you, rip your limbs off, put your eyes out. But that's a rigid 300 pipe threader. You stick the head of a jack in there, tighten that collar up and stick a pipe on it and hit the foot pedal and it'll just run it right down. They tap pipe with this thing. The torque is unbelievable. The problem is it's a gear motor and it winds down. So you had to get your foot off of it before it grabbed a hold and flipped you over the other side of the machine. So not a good thing. However, when I was talking to my favorite heir, Mr. Johnson, and I told him about this, he said, wait, what? It's a machine that his childhood was, he was having flashbacks. But I drew it on a bar napkin, because, you know, that's where you learn your best stuff. I drew it on a bar napkin, and I think he took a picture of it and sent it back to California, because I'm pretty sure the day he got back to California, he sent me pictures of the new and improved Jackmaster 3000. His guy, his MacGyver, put a slide on it so your hand's no longer involved with holding the spinner. And then it got safety switches at each end to make sure that it didn't go beyond the travel limits and kill somebody. And that's a useful machine. Trademark Skyline Scaffold, if you're interested in making it. He'll take care of me, I hope. Turn it into a real tool. That's what he did. Why? For the children. Because his children are going to be using it. They're the next generation of heirs. How do you get the nuts off of threaded rod that's 4 feet long? With the Extensionator 2000. Yes, I renamed it because your name is filthy and we're not allowed to use it. Just make one up and then take it to the worst possible place you could. It's just a socket welded in the end of a scaffold tube with an extension welded into the other end, but it'll let you run nuts off a 4 foot long threaded rod with ease. I heard one last night at the bar that's not in the presentation, and that was a PVC pipe with an extension on the end of it that had a slot cut in it, and they had studs on the floor. So they set the jack on the studs on the floor and ran that thing down with a drill and ran it back up, and that was their jack spinning machine. And the safety was the PVC would break if they didn't stop in time. Colored sandbags. This one blew me away. Got a picture, colored sandbags. I'm like, all right, what are we doing with colored sandbags? Well, there's a sandbag filler. So now let's take a look back. Colored sandbags, sandbag filler. What if we store our serviced clamps, right angle clamps in one color, straight clamps in the other color, and then we skid them up, ready to rent, and able to be pulled 25 at a time? I went, that's brilliant. We had a cement chute, not a trash chute, but a cement chute laying around. You can fill buckets from 30 feet away. If you have a clever carpenter, he can make the multi-bucket filler, except I only know about straight clamps and right angle clamps. I don't know what the other two are for. Stencils, right? We cut out a stencil, or we buy a stencil machine, we cut it out, we paint our name and our phone number on there. And that takes a long time. That's not what you're looking at. What you're looking at goes that fast. It's a handheld printer. By the way, the AV guys in the back took one look at that anvil case and they're like, we're getting one of those. But you can put your name on anything instantly. The EBS 260 handheld printer. Who knows about this stuff? Yep, I see a couple of nodding heads, couple of hands going up. I restore classic Volkswagens for fun. I have a 55-gallon drum of that in my garage. I put a pair of rusty shears in it. By the way, it's citrus-based. It's safe. You can put your hands in it. Supposedly you could drink it. I don't recommend it. But I put a pair of rusty shears in it, and 12 hours later, they looked like that, brand new, and they were no longer seized. They worked as if they had just come off the shelf. It converts the rust. It does away with it. It's amazing stuff. The MSDS is nothing to fear because it's an all-natural product. Now, there's machines for this stuff. We can do a vibratory cleaner. If you've ever seen any of the how it's made videos or something, they'll show you everything going into one of these. It's got either plastic or ceramic media in it. It tumbles and cleans everything off. Well, so for $6,000, you can have a clamp cleaning machine. For $379, you can buy a 1-bag or a 2-bag cement mixer from Harbor Freight, fill it full of their ceramic cleaning media or their plastic media. And I'm sorry, I'm supposed to go the other way. And while Junior's spinning jacks. He can also throw 15 clamps in the cement mixer and they'll be clean in 40 minutes. So he's now multitasking. There's a better way for you. They got him a steam Jenny. Why? Drive it. How many people love clean and drive it off of their equipment? It's impossible. It's made to be sticky. This is carborundum dust. We sent, 50 brand new swing stages to the Navy Yard? They make ships, and to make them pretty, they put a 1-inch thick grinding disc on a 7-inch grinder, and they run it on the side of the ship, which makes carborundum dust and metal filings. And when you mix them together and put them on the platform, and then wet it, rain, and step on it, it turns into rock, non-removable rock. So we got a steam Jenny. It didn't work. We got a pressure washer that didn't work. We got a high pressure washer. That didn't work. And we got a high pressure steam Jenny. And none of it budged. I went home one night and I was looking on the shelf in the garage and I saw my bottle of Mother's Mag wheel cleaner and I went, wait a minute, brake dust, carborundum, no way. So I took the bottle to work the next day. We sprayed the platform down. We hit it with a regular old pressure washer and everything fell off of it. Now, I'm a Volkswagen guy. Dr. Ivan is a friend of mine. Dr. Ivan is a chemist, and he owns USA Auto Detail Supply. So if you want to clean your aluminum, you can get mag wheel cleaner in 55-gallon drums from them, or any other detail supply, by the way. But, of course, it's a little bit different than our Evaporust. You're going to need an MSDS for that one. How about a pocket full of light? These things are awesome. Light mines. All of the points on there are rare earth magnets, and one of them is a light bulb. So you can point light. If you're doing a boiler in the start of it before you get to string the lights and you're trying to get lights, they're tiny. You can see down in the corner that they're smaller than a golf ball. The pros, which have a much brighter light, are a little bigger than that. But yeah, they come in handy. Fist grips, swing stage guys. You need a torque wrench, but nobody wants to carry a torque wrench. They're heavy. You have to keep them in the case. I bought this at Menards. It is a fixed 31 foot-pound torque wrench. It's smaller than a regular ratchet, but it's set for the torque, 1 foot-pound off for the torque we need. It's a perfect solution to somebody who doesn't want to carry a torque wrench. This is an even more perfect solution if you need more than one torque. This is a digital torque wrench that snaps onto your 1/2-inch ratchet. It's made by AC Delco. Turns your ratchet into a torque wrench. You put the socket on the end of it, and away you go. Who are my iTighten fist grips with a gun guys? Good. I didn't see a single hand go up, so you're all smart enough to know not to put your hands up. The problem with tightening fist grips with an impact gun is you're afraid you're going to strip them, and so you don't tighten them enough. You need to get a wrench on there. You need to get a torque wrench on there to read it. That is what's called a torque limiting extension. It twists when it gets to 30 foot-pounds, and it doesn't apply any more torque. So it limits the torque to 30 foot-pounds. So you put it on your gun, pull the trigger, and go. You can hold it till the battery goes dead. It's just going to go to 30 foot-pounds and tighten up perfectly. So if you insist on your gun, do that, then check it with a Menards wrench. This is the greatest tool ever built, the miner's wrench. It's a crescent wrench. You may have heard of a crescent wrench referred to as a crescent hammer. That's a crescent hammer right there. Has a real hammer on it, has a 7/8 ratcheting box wrench on the bottom end of it, and the coolest thing is this little accessory that comes with it. It's a 7/8 adapter that turns it into a 1/2-inch ratchet. So everything you need to build scaffold in one tool. By the way, it's a Canadian product, just letting you know. How many times have you had to throw a rope over something for whatever reason? I watch a lot of YouTube, you can imagine. And the sailing channels of these people that are single-handedly sailing around the world are an absolute blast, but I saw this in one of them. Watch what happens. The rope is on the end of the pole, but when they retrieve it, it's gone around whatever they touched with that pole. And I thought, How many times have we tried to get a rope around something and couldn't do it? So this thing with the right length pole, or a variation of this, would help us get chokers over steel beams. I mean, there's a million possibilities with something like this. If you saw the first one, you should have chuckled. I promised SAIA I wasn't going to do toilet humor. So, all right, visual vocal app. By the way, that was what to do on a swing stage after too much coffee. I think this was originally designed for something else. In other words, something in the music industry, but safety guys have gotten a hold of it, because that's the name is kind of odd, but safety guys have gotten a hold of this thing. You take a panoramic shot with your camera and feed it into this system, then take individual shots of the various areas in there, and then set up safety hazards. And so this system compiles those pictures together and creates a virtual environment. So instead of this theoretical place when you're doing your new hire orientation, you can do it in your facility. And once it's compiled, out come the VR goggles. Everybody pops their phone in, puts their VR goggles on, and they can do their new hire orientation based around your facility. And the possibilities are limitless as to what you can do with this. And in this example, you'll see they pop them in, and the controls on it allow you to look around the environment and then highlight and even draw the hazards that you're encountering. So you get records that they are actually aware of the hazards. Fall suspension alert systems are a big thing. There's a couple companies out there, Grace Industries. These are small things like a pager that go on each worker. If they fall, it's tied into the main system, that yellow box there, which is tied into the supervisor's unit, and they alert you that someone on your crew has fallen. And, you know, great system, costs money, but if you have an Apple Watch, it's already built in. All right? If you take a fall and you're wearing your Apple Watch, if you set this thing up, it'll call any number you want it to. If you fall and you're not hurt, it's going to alert you on your arm. You can just tell it, no, I'm okay, and then it's over. So turn it on. If you work in construction, turn the thing on. Everybody's looking for time savers. How can we get it done faster? If you're the kind of boss that needs to squeeze one more 5-minute face-to-face meeting into an already completely jammed workday, I have the answer for you. I know what you're thinking. What if we got to look at drawings? Got you covered. And if you're that kind of boss, you've already been thinking about, what can I do to keep the morning safety meeting from cutting into the workday? All right, a little potty humor. Exoskeletons. Has anybody demoed them, using them? They're absolutely unbelievable. They're not back braces. Okay, they have some sort of technology in there to assist. Shoulder assist. They're going to have hydraulic or pneumatic cylinders in there that they're not designed to increase your strength, although they actually do. What they do is they keep you from getting fatigued. If you do a lot of leg bends in your job, they have ones for your legs. They have ones for your back, and don't think that it hasn't made it to our industry. They are already using these for these guys who are out stacking horizontals and trees all day. That repetition, can take its toll on you. And they've gotten lighter and lighter with they're using carbon fiber and titanium and all kinds of stuff. And the prices are coming down because the demand is going up. It's already in the field. This is United Rentals. This is a tool supporter designed to work on scaffold. It'll hold a tool up to 35 pounds. It'll give that worker a working reach of 47 inches. If you're putting scaffold up and drilling, wall anchors in some weird material where it takes a long time, Fantastic piece of equipment, and of course, as a rental item, a revenue stream. Anybody got one? So Harbor Freight makes these, but I mean, you can get them from any manufacturer out there. But it's a truck crane, and it mounts into the bed of the truck. It lays up under the bed rail. You hardly ever see it, but it'll lift, at its longest extension, it'll lift 500 pounds, 8 feet in the air or 6 feet in the air. It'll lift, at its shortest extension, it'll lift something from the ground up into the bed of the truck that weighs over 1,100 pounds. You know, so if you get something over 100 pounds and you're by yourself, fantastic piece of equipment. All right. It's time to bow our heads in a moment of silence for two of my favorite pieces of equipment. One, the high-tech RP 2001, no longer with us. And then, of course, the Kenco Swiftway capstan hoist. Who has one? I know David has a bunch. We have a bunch. Steve, the old man who used to, well, he owned the company. He retired and now is no longer with us, but he sold this out to another company that was manufacturing them for a while. We managed to get a couple of them, but now they're completely gone. And if you've never used one, look them up. Just Google Kenco, or look up Kenco Swiftway on YouTube. There are some reasonable facsimiles out there. Gita's got a swing arm hoist. The Betamax has got the Swinger. Oh, I'm showing my age. Scorpio. It's not the Swinger anymore. It's not politically correct. So it's now the Scorpio hoist. Everybody's got some sort of scaffold hoist. The Maxial and the Alba hoist and Gita's basket hoist. So there's some good ones. There's a bunch out there. Now, I did not know that these guys were here, so I'm violating the brand name thing. But in 2017, when I did my original presentation, I talked about Cavazo, and it was a new thing. It was a concept. And now here they are demonstrating their equipment here at SAIA because it's a success. So, you know, it's a completely different hoist than anything else, and we were able to see it. One thing about Cavazo, they've got a prototype that nobody knows about. I caught a video somewhere of it that climbs up and moves sideways on system scaffold. When that comes out, it's, hey, I'm unloading the truck at level 1, bay 1. Take this to level 4, bay 7, and up and over it goes. Maybe someday. All right, for our northern people. Now, the Canadians have known about this stuff for a long time. The Americans were late to catch on, but electric clothing has come into its own with the batteries that we have available now. So most of your tool manufacturers are already making clothes to use the batteries that you already own. Okay, but there are some standalone products out there, even some USB chargeable stuff. So if you work in cold climate and you've never used an electric vest or jacket or socks, I highly recommend it. Access point. This is a self-contained security system. It's not just a camera. It's got motion detectors on it. It watches the scaffold and alerts you if anybody's messing on there when they're not supposed to be. It also does the ordinary daily time lapse and all the other stuff that goes along with it. Ox Blue was the one that I talked about in 17 when we did the original, and this is the latest incarnation. We talked about tape. I've mentioned to several people that a cut system horizontal makes a great tie. Gives you tension and compression all in one unit. You put an eye bolt in the wall, just smack the wedge into it and clamp it to the leg, you're good to go. And I talked about the tape that's on there saying do not cut, do not remove, because plasterers hate ties and know not what they do when they cut it. So we bought this tape, and I never told you where it came from. It's FedEx Kinko's. They'll put on Tyvek tape. By the way, that's a 12-year-old demonstration piece that gets used in every one of my classes, and the tape has never been damaged. It's incredibly strong stuff, so if you need warning tape, things like that, FedEx, who knew? All right, this thing, these are bolt-on strobes. They've got clamps the size of scaffold legs. And I said, hey, in 2017, I said, these are coming, you watch. I was completely wrong. We're still using our banners. By the way, the strobes, you can get them on amazon.co.uk, but not on amazon.com. I don't know why they're not here yet. I expected every canopy in the city to have them. You can go to your local sign company for banners. We put them on every leg at the entrance to every sidewalk protection, anywhere that somebody's going to walk face first into it. They don't work, by the way, because they all got their phone in front of their face like this, and they smash into it anyway. Maybe a strobe with a little beep might not be a bad idea. Put your company name on those in such a manner that your competition can't cover it up with one of their stickers. Ask me why I make that recommendation. All right, little things that make a scaffold builder's life easier. Remember this one from Montreal? Somebody opened a briefcase in Austin, Texas, and had that thing in it. And I said, that's the weirdest looking pager I've ever seen. He said, it's not a pager, it's a lightning detector. He was a little league umpire, and I went, wow. So I looked it up. It's only 25 bucks. And it'll tell you up to 15, 20 miles away. And I used the 1 unga bunga, 2 unga bunga method, and it's accurate. Your phone will tell you when the lightning's coming, but it's a $1,000 phone. This is 23 bucks. So that one was mentioned, and it is very popular. We did the anemometer. You can listen to the news on the way in, find out what the wind speed is, and the only place that that's pertinent is at the airport. The wind speed downtown is affected by the Venturi effect, and you need to know what the wind is, where you're working, and this little, $20 gadget will give you an idea. Another one is watch the tower crane operator. If he gets off the tower and comes down, get off the swing stage. I really thought that the JLG LiftBot was going to be the replacement for ladders. They're so simple. The one on the left, they actually showed it in the thing. The guy pulled up in a hatchback and took it out of the hatchback and put it together and used it. And I went, this is it. They didn't make it. I don't know why. The replacements are called push-around lifts. They're considerably heavier and nowhere near as portable. My idea was to put canopies together with them. I mean, I thought that would be fantastic, but they didn't make it. Don't know why. Probably lawsuits. Who knows? How many people are aware of the fact that you can go to OSHA.gov to a place called the Technical Manual? And the Technical Manual will give you everything you need to know about scaffolding. Need a rescue plan? Yes, everybody needs a rescue plan. You can, not only does it have the information you need, but it also gives you hyperlinks to the outside world, to places like SAIA and others, where you can get additional information to help you put together your safety plans and your rescue plans when it comes to scaffold. And still there, just so you know, there's the complete instructions on how to build a wooden scaffold all the way down to the ladder. So if you want to build a scaffold that's absolutely OSHA compliant, just go to Home Depot, get yourself some lumber, stop. You still need scaffold planks. We can't use 2x10s. And you can build a really good wooden scaffold. Happy to say that the B-Access calculator, no thanks to me, is still available. I wouldn't show my students that until one day, because I said, I'm not showing them how to go online and find out how many counterweights to put in an outrigger beam. I want them to do the math. Makes sense to everybody, right? Until Tom said, what if they're not good at math? And I went, oh. So I make them do it, and I show them where the calculators are. They got a facelift, by the way. So they're, not only do they give you the fulcrum load, the counterweights, but they give you the fulcrum loads, and now there is a voltage drop calculator out there based on the size of cord and the run you go. So the technology is getting better. This one makes me sad. Ali and I, when we did our presentation in 2017, we talked about the HoloLens and how the adult entertainment industry was going to take over and reduce its $4,000 price tag to $500, and we would all have them. It didn't happen.
The camera can sometimes be.
They're $6,500.
So how are you guys doing with that? Anybody watch this yet?
This is still around. Avanis, scaffold designer, and absolutely amazing that you can demonstrate what the scaffold's going to look like from anything from tabletop all the way up to full scale. Put on those VR, and you don't need the HoloLens to do it. Where do I find all this stuff? I don't watch regular television. I watch YouTube for my entertainment. And so there's a lot of stuff that we can get from there. I discovered the Contact Crew when I was writing the 2017 program. Construction technology is what the name means. And it was 4 guys in a podcast, Brady Bunch style, on the screen. And the stuff that they put out was fantastic. Everything you needed to know about the new technology for construction. Rob McKinney is the app guru, so that's where all the cell phone stuff came from. And Todd Wynn was my hero. He was a construction technologist for Rogers O'Brien Construction. His job was to go find the stuff that I'm telling you about now and implement it at his company. The Contact Crew's podcast is still on YouTube, but all they talk about is pre-qualification services and BIM and all of the things that I get bogged down in my job every day. It's a shame because we're all stuck in this paperwork thing that the general contractors are doing to us. Rob McKinney is now the safety guru for the state of Georgia's Forestry Service or something. Took a real job and got out of it. And Todd Wynn left Rogers O'Brien for a while. And I don't know where he went, but when he came back, the wheels had fallen off of their technology first policies, and he's spent the last 18 months trying to put the train back on the track. So it's a shame, but YouTube is still a good source for finding what you need about any subject. I mean, if you need a video to show you how to properly and safely dismantle scaffold, you can find that on YouTube, okay? And you can also find how not to do it on YouTube. I swore this was one of our guys. But he had an alibi, and we checked him on the tracker, and he was nowhere near this site at the time. You missed one. There you go. Bye. Exactly. It's sand. It's a Florida job. I talked to you about Tile and the Milwaukee Tick for equipment trackers. Great ideas, but the problem is the Tile app has to be running on your phone for a tile that passes you to report in. The Milwaukee Tick, you had to be running Milwaukee's app. That's great on a job site, but the thieves don't bring the tools back to the job site, they take them home. So these two, not so great, but Apple put the tracking software in their operating system and then invented the AirTag. So every time an Apple phone passes an AirTag, the Internet of Things takes that information and sends it on to the internet. And so you're able to track things. The only problem is, the only caveat, if your phone knows where you live, you go there every day, so it knows where home is. If you go home twice and you're being followed by an AirTag that doesn't belong to you, you get an alert on your iPhone. And I understand why. It's to keep nefarious individuals from dropping AirTags into ladies' purses and then finding out where they live. So it's actually a good thing. But for the construction industry, if you wanted to track your tools and things like that, and your guys have iPhones, it's going to tell them that they're being tracked. It's going to tell thieves that it's being tracked. So the only way you can use it for your work is put AirTags on everything and give your guys Androids. The Wallabot, which I didn't think was going to make it. I did this one tongue-in-cheek. It's a device that snaps onto the back of your cell phone and gives you X-ray vision. It allows you to look through the walls and see pipes and things like that. Where's this come in handy for us? If you've ever drilled a slab to mount a mast climber and hit rebar 5 times in a row, this thing shows you where it is. At the time, it was $59. It's $159 now, but the closest commercial product to it's in the $700 range, and this thing works. They'll actually show you a mouse behind a wall. And speaking of looking through walls, my favorite little camera that I've had for a bunch of years now, the Ryobi inspection camera, it didn't make it. It's gone. I still have mine, but every tool manufacturer's made one now. So if you have the need to look inside the walls of something, you can get one of these. We talked about my favorite soundproof headphones. They have microphones on them, so you still hear what's going on, but it's active noise canceling. They have these in the type that mounts on the headphones, or on the hard hats as well. And if you got a bunch of Ryobi batteries laying around the fridge freezer, you can't beat it. So, does anybody know what a transom adapter is? Just found out about this before heading out to Vancouver. The transom adapter allows you to attach a horizontal in system scaffold to a horizontal, which we do with tube and clamp all of the time. But this is putting a horizontal on a horizontal. And I want to show you a picture here. This particular unit allows you to put a coupling pin on it. So think about, I've got a 5-foot wide scaffold, but I only need a 2-plank wide bay. I can do that without a whole lot of rigmarole with tube and clamp. Now the next blank space over there is a video that was confiscated by Canadian Customs and Border Police, I think. So because it's not there anymore. So I snuck over. This piece of equipment was invented by a guy named Troy Lumsden, and he's an idea guy. He's a consultant in the scaffold industry. He came up with this. He didn't manufacture it himself. He let the boys from Texas take care of it for him. So since I didn't have the video, I went and grabbed one off their table. Sorry, guys. This is where it went. But the coolest thing about this thing, I can attach a horizontal to a horizontal with this item right here. That's all it takes. But if I need to put a guardrail on it, or I need to continue upwards, this thing just snaps right in and goes on with a coupling pin. I was amazed. You're not getting this back, by the way. It's gone home with me. So, because this thing's pretty wild. All right. Anybody remember this video? We talked, what happened? Can you click run on that one for me, please, John? Maybe, maybe not. You awake back there? Yeah, he's up. I think if you mouse over it, it'll just, we getting nothing? Technology. There's nothing worse than getting your butt kicked by technology in a technology presentation. All right, picture it. Picturesque Northern California and a bridge. This nut job built this thing and he rode up the bridge on rope. No safety line, no nothing. Had the ultimate faith in his product. I said it'll never make it. I said, can you imagine if the rope access world got a hold of this thing? What'd you do, go back? Oh, give it a shot. Okay. I guess CBP got that one too. I said, can you imagine if this guy, rope access got a hold of it? Not only did rope access get a hold of it, law enforcement got a hold of it. I'm going to try this and see. Yay! This guy's got a nationwide dealer network and a nationwide service network, and it's going places. Rope access is a big thing. I'm sure all of you are finding out. It's replacing scaffold in some instances. All right. The 360 camera. I brought this one back because, it's an awesome tool. They made a smaller form factor. It's the latest and greatest in the world. The sailboat channels that I watch, they all use the Insta360, but the Samsung Gear is still around. What's it do? It records 360 degrees at all times. And when you publish it to YouTube, it allows you to use your mouse and look in any direction you want. If you're doing a scaffold inspection, you just hold it in front of you and walk. When you get back, you can then use your pointer to move in any direction you want. You can look down, you can stop, you can look above you to see whether or not the decks are in good shape, whether or not there were toe boards on the scaffold. By the way, this scaffold spent the winter in netting, so it didn't have a whole lot of toe board on it. It did have some. but it allows you to just walk it. If you see anything blatantly obvious, you get that taken care of right away, but this allows you to have a record, allows you to go when you get back to the office and figure out what you missed. OneNote. You got any OneNoters in here? I discovered OneNote in the 90s. I think it was Windows 3.1 when it first came out. And I had a day runner, like a lot of people of that era. And the day runner, it had a limited number of pages. When it filled up, you put them aside, you put new pages in it, and then you lost the notes that you had been keeping all this time. But OneNote allows you to add as many tabs as you want, as many pages to as many tabs as you want. And I have every note that I've ever taken at every SAIA function that I've been to in that single book. It's backed up in the cloud. I can access it from my phone. I can access it from my iPad. If I'm watching a presentation and I'm typing on the iPad taking notes and I want to put a picture in, I could use the iPad to do it, or I could keep it open on my phone, just take a picture, and it will instantly pop up in there. It's all tied together and it's all synced. So if you are a note taker, this is the program for you. And if you have Office 365, it's all free. It's all included. Got this one via email a couple of days ago to add in. Everybody know about Outlook rules? You create a rule to do something with an email based on who it's from, or what it says in the subject, or what it says in the body. How about you create a rule called unsubscribe? If it has unsubscribe in the message, then you move it to the unsubscribe folder. The only messages that have unsubscribe in them are people trying to sell you something. Now you may have, what was your example? The John Birch Society or something may have that in the bottom, but you want that one. But then you create a rule for that one and you move it around. If you don't know how to create rules, you just go into File, Rules, create rule, and then it'll ask you things. You tell it, you give it the parameters. In this case, it was, if it has unsubscribe in the message body, move it to the unsubscribe folder. Now, don't go through there after a month and find all the ones you don't want and hit unsubscribe, because you're confirming your email address to whoever sent it to you, and you're going to get more. Okay, create a rule that sends those automatically to delete without being read, and the email servers will say, hey, that's not a real address. And the spam will go away. All right, my favorite, and the tail end. You know, I'm kind of serious about coffee, right? This is the Oxbox coffee maker, and it's gone. Not because it sucked, it's fantastic. David, is it fantastic? Did you not? Yeah, exactly. I've got one in my car. He's got one in his office. You can park a Jeep on it. It won't break. It's got lifting handles so you can get it up to the top of the scaffold. But the marketing firm that owned the company dissolved it not because it wasn't profitable, because it wouldn't make enough profit. So it just went away. So if you're a millionaire, please pick it back up. All right, 1 cup, 1 battery. If you're a Makita person, you can make a cup of coffee, but it's going to cost you one of your batteries. By the way, if you want to heat your lunch up and you got a 40-volt Makita battery, 1 battery, 1 healthy choice lunch. And this one, I haven't actually used this. I did use the other two, and they work. This one here I haven't actually used, but I found this video. Look how shiny the floor is. That thing's got to work great. All right, this is serious. I wouldn't kid about coffee. You know me better than that. It's only available in Australia and Africa. Hopefully they're rolling it out alphabetically. I'll let you know. It's a real Ryobi coffee maker that works on the Ryobi 1 batteries. All right. Well, I want to thank you very much. That QR code up there will take you to a link. If you've got a horrendously dangerous homemade tool in your shop, if you submit it, I promise you anonymity, and we'll stockpile them if we ever get to do this again. Thanks very much, everybody.